Ladipo Johnson joins us now. He's a legal practitioner and also a member of the People's Democratic Party in Lagos. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Well, as a result of that scenario, in fact, let me ask you again, since you're in law and politics, Senator Ali Dimeda was barred from that because, it got tongues wagging, and then our law says the man is innocent and proven guilty. From your perspective, should he have showed up in the first place, since he was eventually barred from coming in? Should have gotten fillers, wouldn't he?
Well, this happens time and time again. If, God forbid, that I'm in such a position, if I were in such a position, I wouldn't have turned up, because even if you're innocent until proven guilty, it will get people, the general public, talking about your party in a bad light, you understand. And once it generates conversations like this, it has a negative effect on the party you say you belong to. So in such situations, I do not see why they insist on turning up and trying to make a point, as it were. So, but in any event, I think he turned up after the president was seated. So ordinarily, he may not have been let in.
But he was told that his name was not on the list.
Yes, maybe the one, it could have been an omission. Two, the administrative arm of the party may have thought he wouldn't be coming, or may have thought due to the present circumstances.
But there's nothing, there's nothing in your party's constitution that says that when someone has cases hanging around their neck, they're not supposed to come forward.
I don't think so. Okay. It's a different thing if you're convicted or something.
Okay, you're in politics. Let me ask, do politicians have a problem with integrity?
No, do Nigerians have a problem with integrity? That's a question. You see, because Nigerians are the ones who are the politicians, as we say, members of Nigerian society.
I asked the question because sometimes people, before they go into politics, they're known to be men and women of integrity, but as soon as they step in there, it's as though a cloud comes over them and they're totally different.
Yes, you see, you said they're known. They're known because the torchlight hasn't been beamed on them. When you get into government, you understand, and then you face the different pressures, you understand. You have pressures from the constituents, the pull from the constituents, because of the poverty level in this country, you understand. So it's a two-way thing. It's not just the individuals there, it's the system itself, and it's also the people, we the people of Nigeria, you understand. I always say that the leadership come out from within the people, and if the people themselves do not evolve and develop as a country, if we do not evolve and develop as a country that will not tolerate this, that and this, then there will be no improvement, as it were, with the people who are meant to be serving us.
I know you will hope that that amendment to the constitution of the party, happens nice and easy without any more friction than it had already generated. But you see it coming easy? We've had a lot of
no, it's already clear that it will not be easy. Whichever way, I know that the last guest, the Honorable, was saying that the PDP has a way of solving these problems. Whichever way, I think the nastiness that could have occurred would be taken care of, and they may reach a consensus before the convention. That would usually be the case, and I believe that will still be the case. So we may still see some give and take if there's going to be the amendment at all.
Well, lots of politics going on there, but do you see, is there a distinction, or where do we draw the line between politics and governance?
It's very difficult to, yes, you have to draw the line, you understand, at some point, but it's very difficult. if you look at other jurisdictions as well, let's go to America, for instance. I'll just go, let me take a radical one. Look at George Bush and Al Gore. It was predictable to the Supreme Court. The judges that were appointed by Republican presidents, you understand, found in favor of George Bush, and those appointed by the Democrats found in favor of Al Gore. It was predictable to the end of it. But that's looking at the judiciary and government, but that's part of governance and politics. So there should, back to your question, there should be a line, but it's very it's a very faint line at the moment, because the party I hate using the word in power, but the party in the Nigerian context, the party in power in that state or at the national level for that matter, will bring in what they believe in. You know, you asked about the ideology of if there was an ideology. They bring in what they believe in into governance. And that is why you are taking an interest in the PDP National Convention. For instance, the national chairman of the PDP, whoever comes in, is probably like number 3 or number 4 in Nigeria. Not officially, but in terms of influence and everything. So definitely it has to have an effect, and it makes it more difficult to have a defining line.
You know, I want to ask you a personal question.
Personal, okay.
Yes, why did you join the PDP, especially in a state like Lagos that, you know, is dominated by a rival political party, the ACN?
Good question. I, unlike most people, have an ideology. From when I was much younger, I got involved in politics, and I've always been right of center. Do you understand? I've always been right of center. It's
that's conservative.
Yes.
Would you say that the PDP is conservative?
Yes, it is more conservative
in ideology.
In ideology,
what
and
is the
in
ideology?
The programs. It is the Conservative Party. If you look at the Conservatives in England, look at the Republicans in America. It is the Conservative Party that will say to you that we believe in the small businessman. We believe that government should reduce in size. That's the problem Obama is facing right now. You understand? He's in the Democratic Party. Government will tax, will do this, will do that. You understand? The Conservatives will say, no, let's give you tax breaks. We believe that private industry should do more. In the 70s/80s, Margaret Thatcher was the one that opened up the way for even the masses to start to get mortgages and everything. After a while, they said it lost its human face. It was all about profit. If this hospital isn't making a profit, shut it down. That's the downside of it. But when you now look at New Labour under Tony Blair, and you look at President Bill Clinton, how he came in, his policies were virtually the same as that of the Republicans economically. So what people said at that time was they were tired of the Republicans and they voted for Clinton, as it were. So I've always been slightly right of center, and the PDP is a right of center party.
The ACN isn't?
The ACN, you should be questioning the ACN, not the PDP.
And we will
in the sense,
get them.
No, in the sense that, just to answer that, in the sense that the ACN, ordinarily the message from the ACN would naturally, they tell you they're progressives in that sense. So they're slightly left of center, you understand?
Talking about politics and governance, and one wonders, are politicians getting it wrong all the time? Because it looks as though that line is blurred for a whole lot of them. They think it's got to be politics. Governance may be secondary, because that's what the people say they see with what they do.
Well, I wouldn't say that politicians are getting it wrong all the time. I suppose you've heard it too often now. It's a learning process. I believe that if I had told you some 3 years ago that the governor in Kogi would be removed, that someone would try to swear in a speaker, someone would try to swear in another person who had just had an election, and that there would be no bloodshed. You would have said, no, it's not possible. But it shows you that whilst we're getting things wrong in some cases, it shows that the country is developing politically and governance-wise.
Politically, it's developing. Yeah, politically, but
it may be slow,
declining in the area of governance, as in good governance. It's as if there's a plummet.
No, I wouldn't say that. We're more aware. We're becoming more aware. We're demanding more. Do you understand? That is different from how it used to be. People never used to question. There was no EFCC, no ICPC. People never used to question. So I wouldn't say we're declining. I would say that we're becoming more aware and we're taking them to task more. The Nigerians are asking more questions. All you have to look back at was the beginning of the year with the fuel subsidy issue. Nigerians were more aware. You had your Blackberries, you had messages going around. So things are changing. We're calling them and challenging the decisions of government better than we ever used to do. So,
how would you say that party members, would you say that they have an influence as to what goes on when finally their members are elected into positions of power?
Not enough. I totally agree with you. Not just party members, even the constituents. The average Nigerian does not have the ability or does not make use of the channels that are available to put or to hold their representatives either in the House of Reps or Senate or governor or local government chairman.
What channels are available?
Well, the most difficult one is the power to recall. You understand? It takes
that's an extreme one.
Long process. Exactly.
Yeah, that's the extreme one. But what are the channels of complaint available to, say, constituents, for instance?
Well, if you could complain to the party, you understand, and if there was there should be a way for the people to use the press to bring pressure on their representatives. But I'm answering the question myself. The poverty level in the country at the moment and the sheer greed of Nigerians. At times it's not the poverty level. It's because I want to get a contract, you understand, then it doesn't matter what others are saying. Just let him give me you understand, my contract. And we say, no, he's working and everything. So it's the system is no different. I'm sure we have ombudsmen and everything. It's the same system around the world, but we don't. Because
what we find, what we find is that even when party members are not happy with what is going on in their parties, rather than speak to the leadership of the party, they rather talk to press people.
No, well, they could, maybe, because in some instances, the leadership, do you understand, the direct leadership they could be talking to would be in support of that officer they're complaining about. Basically, maybe because they're from the same camp or what have you. So that is why those people would have taken that decision and said, no, we'd rather make some noise about it and see if they will be embarrassed or forced.
Let's take an issue, for instance, the issue of the removal of fuel subsidy. Yes. Would you say that party members were carried along in the government's decision? I mean, considering the fact that if a policy is handled properly, or whatever it is the party does, might determine whether or not that party will return to power at the next elections. Yeah. Would you say that that issue is broached to members of the party, and party members were urged to discuss maybe with people around and try and see if they can buy people over? When the decision was finally taken, were they happy with the way it was taken? If they weren't happy, did they have any means of saying how they felt about their feelings?
Yes, there are two ways to it. One, they may not have been happy. Some may not have been happy, you understand. Let's take the position of those who are not happy. If you're not happy, yes, you could talk to the leadership and say, look, we do not like what you've done. But then, because you're also a political party, you understand, it would take a lot to get you to go outside the box and shoot from there, as it were, against the party. The position is that people may have looked at it, you understand, and said, look, okay, what's the hierarchy of the party? What they're saying to us is that, I'm not saying that's what happened. This government will not even survive if that subsidy doesn't go. This country will not survive, you understand? So no matter how bitter the pill is, they have to chew the pill, you understand? But back to your question, I don't think that enough was done, honestly speaking, to get the channel of communication all the way down and then back up again.
But would you also say that that's because at the end of the day, most party members are the ones who benefit from, let me say, subsidy scheme, as it were? I mean, would you?
No, I
as it were,
I would say,
you know, it became some sort of reward system. I mean, Mr. A worked for me while I was trying to become so and so you get to import so amount of fuel. You know, so would that not have been contentious?
No. On the contrary, I don't think so. You see, I don't know too much about the petroleum industry. You understand? But I know enough to know that there are some big players in the industry who have been there, who are established. But I think it is more of the fact that the members of the party may say, look, this is our party, this is what we stand for, you understand. The president came to the NEC and said, this is a major shift in policy, this is what we'll have to do. And NEC, who are representatives, said, okay, if he's convinced them, you understand. And then, so they took the time to convince them. But your question is not just those in Abuja, you're talking about the party all the way down. So although we have a representative system to the top, how often do you get back to your people from the ward level to say, this is what we want to do and that is what? Just still have to work on that.
What's the focus? For instance, you now, why did you go into politics as a lawyer? Is this service or money?
No, I've been fooling I was going to say fooling myself that it could be good. It will be good by God's grace. I have I'm passionate about the fact that this country can work. I started very early. I was into students' unionism. So it was a natural thing for me to do. I've always been involved.
Is it also a natural thing for the others, or the other politicians?
Well, I hope that it's like the priesthood. Do you understand? Not everyone that goes into it has a calling. Some have gone into it due to unemployment or what have you. You understand? You have churches springing up every day. You understand? So not everyone has gone into it because they have the calling. Well, I can't answer that question. I hope that most of them are going.
In other words, politics is a calling.
Well, it's you hope that they want to serve their community or their society. So it's a calling. It's a calling.